Today on the farm, I've got a Marlin Model 60. And I've got a Marlin Model 60. And lastly, I've got a Marlin Model 60. Stick around. So this is a video I've been wanting to put together for some time now, ever since I got what I called my perfect Marlin Model 60. It's cosmetically not perfect, but as far as the different generations of Marlin 60s goes, this would be my favorite. And that's because this was made during that few years in the late 80s where you had the full-length barrel, the full-length magazine tube that can hold 18 rounds, and the last round hold open. This would be what I would say is my favorite Marlin 60, again, as far as the generational Marlin 60s are concerned. This was my first Marlin 60. I have not yet had this one on the channel. This is a later model. It's got the new style charging handle. It also has last round hold open, but it's got the shorter barrel, I believe it's 19 inches, the shorter magazine tube, which will only allow you to hold, I think, 15 total in this. And this one, again, is made, I'm pretty sure sometime after 2010. It's got the double M at the beginning of the serial number, which from what I read means that it was made after 2010. This is a very good gun. I love this gun. But there are some reasons, like we talked about, why, even though it was my first, it's not necessarily my favorite. And really, it's just that longer barrel and the longer magazine tube. You hold these right next to each other. We see we've got a laminated stock on the later model, and I'm not sure what kind of wood they used here. You guys let me know in the comments. It's not laminated. As far as looks go, I mean, I kind of like the old style, but I appreciate what Freedom Group, what Remington was doing with these laminate stocks. I don't know that they were available everywhere like this. There are some that I know were like Walmart exclusives or something like that, where they would have a laminated stock. They may have a different, might have a stainless barrel, something like that. I don't know the full history on this one, but I do know the full history on this one. So this is an older 1981 model, Genfield Model 60. And I do know the whole history on this one because my father-in-law got it when he was a kid, and it was a brand new rifle. So one owner the entire time. This is a very cool model too, in that it has the squirrel stocks, and it's got the etchings at the front here too, make it a little easier to grip on there. Very nice, but we do have some differences along the years. We've talked about the different barrel lengths already, and the different magazine tube lengths. The only Model 60 variant, well, there are a couple. Back in throughout the 70s, you had these Genfields. They would have a two-piece block inside that would serve as your feed ramp, and that caused a bunch of issues, and they changed it over to a single piece block. I'll roll in some footage of what I'm talking about when I say block. You guys know that, you may know the technical term better than I do. So I don't have one of those, and then I don't have one where we had the full length barrel but the shorter magazine tube. Now I have shot one of those before. It was not mine. Wasn't able to get it for this video. But if I ever do get access to that one, I'll update this and have 4 variations of the Marlin Model 60. All we're going to do today, I'm going to show you guys some of the differences on the internals, because there are some there. There was a lot more work that went into making these older Genfields than went into even the later 80s era Marlin 60s. So we're going to dive into that, show you guys, again, going to take these apart, show you the trigger housing and the really the entire firing mechanism inside to show you the kind of differences I'm talking about. And then we're just going to take a couple shots out of each of these rifles on a, I think it's a 4-inch steel plate. It could be 3 inches. I know these guns can shoot better than I can shoot them with irons, but we are going to take a few shots at that little 4-inch plate, and we're going to use some mini mag target ammo. I wanted ammunition that could reliably cycle in all 3 of these, so we're going to go with that and just see how we do. Now this can just show you guys, you know, from the outside how these guns look different. Again, this Genfield and this top Marlin both have the full length, I believe 22-inch barrels, full length mag tubes. And then this other, you know, has the shortened barrel and shortened mag tube. And it, you know, it all stems from, you know, New Jersey passing a law about how many, you know, how many rounds a magazine can hold. So for a while, Marlin kept the full length barrel and just had a shortened mag tube. And I don't know if people just didn't like the way that it looked, but they ended up just chopping everything back to make it all line up better. I wouldn't hate it, you know, to have the longer barrel with the shorter mag tube, but I mean, I guess I get it. Front sights pretty much all look exactly the same. The bolts we've already talked about a little bit on these earlier ones. They had an arrow that would show you how to make the bolt hold back. But there was no last round hold open. Unlike these, you know, you have that. But you also have the ability to pull it back and stick it into place like that too. And then of course the newer ones has this like knurled bolt. I don't really know why someone would want this. I guess so you could easily, you know, manipulate it from more than just holding it like that. Maybe if you wanted to hold it like this or just rack it with your finger or whatever. I mean, I don't hate it. It just doesn't look like the classic ones, you know. And then take a look at these trigger guards. This is an aluminum alloy trigger guard with a metal trigger. And both of these are plastic. We have a plastic trigger guard, plastic trigger, and plastic trigger guard, plastic trigger. Now, what I really like, the squirrel engraving on here, right? It's very nice. They used to do these. Not sure when they stopped or if it was just a special edition thing. I know that some have squirrel stocks, and then there are others that have something different there. I'm not quite sure. I know for sure about the squirrel stocks because they're pretty popular. Again, nothing here, just a plain wood stock. Again, not sure on the wood. I probably should have looked into that first. And then we just have a laminate. The laminate, I mean, it does look cool, but it just doesn't look classic, you know? Maybe you guys understand what I'm talking about. All right, now that we've got everything back inside, I'm going to show you guys the difference between the internals in the older Genfield 60s and then the newer Marlin Model 60s. I'm not going to take all 3 apart. I'm going to set this one to the side. So we'll just go with the oldest one I've got access to and the newest one I have access to. So like you've seen already, the big difference in their takedown is that this one takes down with a flathead screwdriver, and this one will take down using like an Allen wrench. There and there. Again, we don't worry about this one because we're not taking the trigger guard off. So we'll start by taking the new one down, and then we'll go to the older one. So as you can see on this old one, we've got 2 screws up front, And then we have a pin that is held in with a threaded screw at the rear. On the newer models, we've got this pin that goes through the entire front that serves as sort of like a hinge whenever it comes to taking this assembly out. And on the back we have a push pin. So this is just a plastic push pin that'll go through. Like that. And we're going to pull the tube so we don't mess anything up. And now this will just come out. Oh, let me release my bolt first. There we go. Now this will just come out like so. So the takedown on here is pretty easy. Whereas this one takes a little bit longer, but the pieces, like I dare say, are like much better made. So let's take this one out. That part comes out like that. And this side might take a little shaking to take out, but there it comes. And that's all metal. Both of these pieces are metal, whereas the other is plastic. And again, up here at the front, these screws will come out, which will allow you to pull this out. None of this stuff really has to be that tight, because the force of like it being screwed in there is not what keeps this together. And that just pulls out. I forgot to pull the tube that time, but. So when you're holding these next to each other, there's not a lot of visual difference here. Now, as you can see, I've changed the buffer out on this older one very recently. It was very, very brittle and had cracked across the side. This one has not yet been changed out, so it's pretty dirty. There's no telling how much longer it's gonna last though. These buffers are sort of the weak spot on these Marlin 60s. So those are the most often piece that's replaced. On the other side, we see the biggest difference is that with the newer one, since it has a last round bolt hold open, you have this little guy right here that will release your bolt. The older one does not have that piece because it doesn't need it. It doesn't have the last round hold open. And that's the main difference. Everything else seems to be like exactly the same between these two. Like I said, you just have this extra piece to release that bolt when it gets held open. All right, we've got 5 rounds loaded into each rifle. And you know, I may miss a couple times, we'll see. But we're gonna shoot at that little yellow plate at, again, about 15 yards. See how we can do with these open sights. Starting with the Genfield. Oh, got a malfunction. Let's see. Oh, just a failure to feed. See if we can get it in. There we go. Oh. All right, that's everything out of that one. Now on to what I say. I think, yeah, this is a 1988 Marlin. Oh. And last round hold open. And lastly, the 2010-ish Marlin. Again, taking note of the different kind of charging handle that we've got versus our older ones. That one might have hit all 5 times. Man, love these Marlins. Now I did find the one round that that didn't fire, and yeah, it's got a light primer strike on there. We're gonna try to run it through that Genfield again. See if it'll do it, because this ammo really is not known for malfunctioning, at least out of all of the different brands I've tried. So let's see. Worked just fine. So in wrapping this up today, I'm going to ask you guys a question. Which generation of the Marlin 60 or the Genfield 60 is your favorite? Let me know in the comments below. Also, if you aren't already, please do subscribe to the channel and follow us on Instagram. It's @YonderOak, the same as the channel name is here. I post behind the scenes pictures and videos there, as well as some cooking videos that don't quite make their way over to YouTube. Thanks for stopping by, everybody. Now I've got to pop the scopes back on this guy and this guy to get ready for squirrel season. Squirrel season here starts in mid-August. So that's it's going to be very hot, but if I'm going to be out there sweating it in the woods, I want to know my shots are going to go where I want them to go. Thanks everybody for stopping by.